All right. Well, we both made the decision to go down to Lawrence, and I went with a bunch of guys I didn't know, except for one guy. And then you decided at the last minute to drive down, and didn't quite work out the way we were hoping, but still kind of a cool experience to go down the field house because there's a lot of history there. But what are your thoughts on the whole trip?
Yeah, I think it was more definitely a bucket list item. If people haven't gone, they definitely should at least once. It was fun. I mean, the game, obviously, we'll get into it, but the Hall of Fame and the first level is cool. Lawrence really feels like Ames, to be honest. It was kind of weird. Like driving through Lawrence, it looks almost identical to Ames. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, their environment is unbelievable. I know it's some low ceilings and their speakers are really loud, but their student sections are locked in, and they're really part of the game. And I mean, it probably would have been louder if it was a good game because I mean there was not much to cheer for most of it just because it was out of hand. But I mean, when Adams caught that alley oop at the end of the first half, the place was insanely loud. So obviously the game was disappointing, but I think it's a cool place just as a basketball fan. It'd be cool just to go see Kansas play, like if Duke played there sometime, just to go watch a game. And the Kansas fans we interact with were all really nice. I talked to this old alumnus who just said, "Take it easy on us today. We're both struggling," and you can just tell I think, like Iowa State fans, are just smart basketball fans. And I don't know. I think that the environment and everything was cool, and I don't regret going necessarily, but it. I said on the way there, I said, "Well, we're good enough. We really shouldn't get killed. So at least it'll be a good game." And man, was I wrong. It was not a good game at all.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I agree with you about Allen Fieldhouse. I think it's a little bit of a fraud. I mean, that's just my opinion. I hate to be negative, but the low ceiling, it's a metal building, same number of people in that place as Hilton. They pack in there. It's a cool place. I'm not going to kid you, but they turn the speakers up so loud that if they did that in Hilton, there'd be people complaining. And then they run the damn marching band out there at halftime, and I was right behind Iowa State's bench, and my ears rang for 2 days. I am not kidding you. The trumpets were so loud, but that's my only criticism of it, that I just think that they don't need to do that. I mean, but the thing that I did like about the thing that I did like about it is that they play the band more than they do the pump up music versus what we do in Hilton. I mean, we spend a lot of if you look at analyze Saturday, when we run out on the court, the band plays the fight song once, and then we go into the hip hop stuff, which is fine if the kids like that, but that doesn't get the crowd fired up. That doesn't keep people engaged in the warm ups, and so that's one thing I wish our band would play more, to be honest with you, because that feels more like a college football or college basketball game. But that was my only criticism of it. I mean, I worked at Roy Williams camp. I've told that 100 times on here a long time ago, and I was kind of having flashbacks as I remember we got to go in there and do workouts and stuff, and it was kind of cool. But that museum on the front end of it is new. That was really cool too. So I mean, but I agree with you 100% about the Kansas fans. They're a lot like us. There's been not a lot of great football in both schools.
Right.
We're on the upswing. They're on the upswing football wise, but we've always been fairly consistent in basketball. They've obviously been better than we are, but over the years. But they have a lot of respect. I mean, I never had anybody say anything negative to me. On the way in, on the way out, we went to the Wheel Bar afterwards. All Kansas fans, except there's some Iowa State fans there too, but it was very cordial crowd, all telling us good luck for the rest of the season. And I think they realized that was a get-right game for them. And we cannot hit water if we fell out of a flipping boat on Monday night, because we cannot make a thing. But I sat next to Zeke Mayo's parents and his family. They were cool. Got to talk to Milan's dad a little bit before the game. I was hoping he was going to suit in case we needed a free throw shooter like at the end of the game or something. No, they're not going to let him suit today. Yeah, and then we went to the guys I was with. We went to this bar called Johnny's, which was kind of ironic, and that's actually the name of the bar that Bill Self has his call-in show at. So it's kind of funny that he has his call-in show at a place called Johnny's, which is the name of the bar in our stadium. So, I mean, if I could go back in time, I probably wouldn't have gone. I mean, we spent way too much money on tickets,
Yeah,
but
right.
it's it was an experience, that's for sure. But if you talk about the game, I was just kind of watching us come out of the tunnel and was going to see if we were intimidated at all. We weren't intimidated. Kids, they were really locked in. I thought they really had their game face on. And the first, 5 to 10 minutes of the game, we were playing pretty well. But, it just happens to a team that when you have a hard time making shots, it makes the game not very fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that was
right.
kind of what happened to us. I mean, Curtis took 3 threes, I believe, in the first 4 minutes. Didn't make any. The first one was the cleanest look he's gotten in a long time.
And short.
And didn't make them. And then, you could just see the look on his face that he was just frustrated. And Keyshawn's not right. I mean, they're not saying anything about that, but I was watching him, and I think he's got something going on with the groin possibly. And I have no inside information. I've just been around athletes long enough that I watched him, when he was warming up and as he runs. If you notice when he tries to sprint, sometimes he kind of has a stiff left leg, and it's just a sign that he's got something going on there. So I hope, the few days off here is going to help him get a little more right. But I tell you what, I've seen Hunter Dickinson many times now, haven't been impressed with him any time, and he does not like Deshaun. Deshaun is a problem for him, and unfortunately, it just wasn't our night. And when you can't score, it's hard to win anywhere, let alone Allen Fieldhouse, for crying out loud.
For sure. And I mean, I think the big sequence was with like a minute 30 left. We get a live ball turnover. Keyshawn's running the break. Possibility to shoot. We're down 12 at the time. Possibility to cut it to 10 or 9. Leads to a live ball turnover. DeJuan Harris gets on it, rolls over, travels, I think.
Right.
And then
I agree.
ends in a lob to a KJ, and the place goes nuts.
Yeah.
That was a turning point. I mean, if we're down 10 at halftime, that's a totally different game, I think. But I think you're right. I mean, shots weren't going in, and it felt like our guys really tightened up because it felt like after shots going in, then every subsequent shot, it felt they were shooting it as if like, oh, I have to make this.
Right.
Like, and when you're shooting, if your mindset is you have to make it, they don't go in. And from then it just wasn't fun. And credit to our guys, though. I mean, they fought to the very end. Keyshawn, Curtis, and Taman are flying over the place. We had so many runs, but I mean, they played really well too. I mean, they hit 3 after 3 that kind of ended each little mini run we had in the second half. So that's probably definitely one of their best games of the year, and it was our second worst shooting performance of the year. So I mean, that's not a recipe to win in Lawrence, which is too bad, just because there's been a lot of really good games in Lawrence, and I would have rather been at those losses than a 17-point loss. But you can't score 19 points and a half and win many games, and we had 6 field goals and end of the game 3 for 23. It's just not going to work. But that being said, I don't think this game doesn't bother me near as much as the K-State game. I think that's the game we look at the end of the year that really just won't make any sense, just based on effort. And I mean, the thing is, everything that went wrong against K-State, we did so much better. We rebounded really well. We out-rebounded them. Turned the ball over 5 times.
7 times, yeah.
Okay, well, still single-digit turnovers.
Really good, yeah.
And they're a top 5 defense in the country, so it's just nothing would go in. I mean, we had a couple possessions where we had 3 attempts at the rim, and none of them went in.
Yeah, we had one possession. We had 4 attempts at the rim in the first half. First half is what killed us. I mean, that was the game because we were playing from behind the whole time. But if you look at the play-by-play, we got to 10 points with 13:44 left, and then in the first half, we didn't score for about the next 3 minutes. Then for the next, from the 11-minute mark until the 5-minute mark, we scored like 5 points. I mean, so 19. I don't care who you're playing. 19 points in a half is really hard to recover from, and you could really tell when TJ was walking off the floor, he couldn't believe it. I mean, he was pretty frustrated, and I watched. I like going to games live versus watching them on TV because you can watch some of the stuff that's going on the bench and different places. And I don't see any attitude issues. I don't see anything like they're not mad at each other. You don't see any internal strife, because that's sometimes pretty easy to pick up. And I don't see any of that. I just think they just couldn't figure out a way to score. I mean, and that's just going to happen. And when you're in an environment like that and you don't score, if you go back and look at the games that we've won down there, like the Curtis Stinson days or Tinsley or whatever, we went blow for blow with them on every possession, and we just did not play well. And when we got down that much at the halftime, it was a tough road to hoe. And then they got confidence. You got to be happy for Zeke Mayo. I mean, he's a Lawrence, Kansas kid. Grew up a Kansas fan. Unfortunately had the night of his life against us. And then AJ Storr comes in and he kind of gets right a little bit against us. He only had 8 points, but he sure looked like he belonged more than he had in the rest of the year. And sitting next to Mayo's parents, like I said, and there's that freshman turns around and he's just smiling, nodding his head when the game's over at Zeke, and his parents must have been there too, and they were just feeling pretty good about things. But we got to get right Saturday. I mean, losing 3 out of 4 at this time of the year is not ideal, but I'd rather have it happening now than 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, and I think it's just forcing, and listening to Williams and Bloom, they brought up a good point where we lose Milan and then we kill Kansas. So really don't need to change much. And then we kill UCF after losing to West Virginia, where we score 108 points. They're like, well, there's nothing wrong with the offense. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. And then we kind of were fortunate to beat Arizona State, if we're being honest. I mean, Curtis went for 33. That's not a common night. And then obviously the Arizona game happened. And then K-State, like those were 2 kind of question marks, and we did change things offensively. And the things I think we played better.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Shots. So it also is just kind of an unfortunate sequence of games where our guys are playing less confident each game. But I thought Deshaun gave us really good minutes. He played hard and rebounded the ball really well. Just couldn't make anything. Taman's a warrior, obviously. Keyshawn and Curtis haven't been playing as well. I mean, we're going to go as Keyshawn and Curtis take us in March. Guards win in March, and they are, at their best, some of the best guards in the country, but they haven't been playing that way the last couple of games, and that's why we've been losing. So, and I mean, we can beat to death the whole bench issue. I mean, one shot attempt again is just not going to cut it. That'll obviously get better once Curtis goes back to the bench. I thought Heisey honestly gave us really good minutes. He defended really well. It's never been an issue, obviously, but he just isn't even looking for a shot right now offensively. So hopefully we get a little bit of reprieve as far as the meat grind of the Big 12, where these next 4 games we're definitely the better team. So hopefully we can get up 10, and Heisey, at that point, if you're up 10, those threes aren't that big of a pressure, and hopefully you can just take the lid off the basket for him.
You can't take the lid off the basket if you don't shoot it.
Right.
I mean, and he's not even looking to shoot right now. And I'm tired. I said this last time. I'm tired of people beating him up on social media and stuff. But he's not going to get right if he doesn't shoot it. And so he's gone 2 weeks with hardly taking a shot at all. And so now Saturday, is he all of a sudden going to start shooting because we're playing a lower level team? I mean, I
if
don't
we're up
get
15, it's at least a low pressure 3 at least. I mean, because right now, I mean, when you're in the thick of it, every shot's important, and like when you aren't confident it's going to go in, like that's not the time to. I understand your point where you have to shoot it, but like if you're mentally not well, like you're not going to want to shoot it when you're down 10. But if you're up 15, like it's just like, okay, like I'm not hurting us, I might as well. And I mean, watching him warm up, he's a capable shooter. So it will be really important for us to have him be an offensive threat going into March. And I think honestly, Milan coming back too just takes a ton of pressure off because he can make shots. Right now, everyone is trying to make up for the gap he's left, and it's just, I think, adding a lot of pressure that we feel every shot has to go in, especially when we've lost 3 in a row. So, I mean, I think basketball's it's a roller coaster of a season, ups and downs. Right now, we're in a valley. Thankfully, it's February, not March, and thankfully, Milan's coming back. And I mean, we're definitely deeper now. I mean, Demarion, 21 minutes, 7 rebounds. I mean, he's just only gives us good minutes and is a really good defender. So I think, and he's played in crunch time too. I mean, played the last 5 minutes against Arizona, so which are just really important situational minutes for him. So we're going to be okay.
No shot. No shot.
I mean,
I mean, we can't get 0 attempts from our bench.
Yeah.
And I don't totally agree with you with this whole Heisey thing. When you're down 15 and nobody else can make a shot, and you can because you have in the past, why the hell aren't you launching at least one? I mean, he didn't even look at taking a 3 down there. I mean, and then Noy just comes in, everybody's screaming and yelling. Noy just is the savior at all. He comes in and airballs a 3 and gets fouled, gets hit in his feet, didn't get in his hands, get hits in his feet, then he goes 1 for 3 from the line, and he's not ready. I mean, he will be a fantastic player for us someday, but right now,
maybe
he was scared to death when he went in there. And which I don't blame him. I mean, he's an Allen Fieldhouse for crying out loud, but he just does not look like if physically he's ready, mentally right now, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully there's a game that he does have a breakout time. But when he went in there, and I like the fact that the first time he touched the ball, he squared up and actually shot it. I mean, so he had as many shot attempts almost as our whole bench.
Yeah.
But Heisey's played a lot of minutes for us, and he's got to give, and Demarion for that matter too. They got to take it to the rim and get the free throw line like Demarion did. I hope Demarion's okay, by the way, because he took a nasty fall at the end of that game, and he was also messing around with his back earlier in the game too. So I'm hoping he's good to go on Saturday. And nobody at TJ at the press conference today, nobody asked TJ anything about Demarion that I could see. So. Yeah, we got to have Demarion, but we got to have somebody that's going to – I mean, Chatfield shot 28% from the three-point line last year too. That's serviceable. I mean, he's not 0% or 12%. I mean, he could at least square up, and if he shoots one, he's at least a threat. Now the guy guarding him can get out of the lane at least. So, yeah, I mean, I'm more worried about our offense than I am our defense. I mean, I've got into this thing at DraftKings where I'm trying to predict the final score. That's just for the fun because you get $1 and you win like 115. And I almost had Kansas is exactly right, but I had us scoring in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, the offensive thing is frustrating. I thought our ball movement was a lot better. I thought we rebounded a lot better, but when you just can't throw it in the ocean, somebody's got to step up and make a shot, and that's just unfortunately we didn't do it. So.
For sure. And I mean, our offense all year has really relied on live ball turnovers, which they had very few of, which obviously doesn't help. And honestly, the Heisey thing may be a non-factor because he may fall out of the rotation when Milan comes back. I think it'd be hard to argue that Demarion hasn't given us better minutes than him the last 2 weeks. That being said, I agree. He's just got to shoot it. And I think there will be a game where he hits a couple and it's going to be big. But it's not going to happen unless he pulls the trigger. And yeah, I think I agree with Noyes. I've been one of the guys that I think has been campaigning for him to get a shot, but I think we needed him to be good enough to help us this year, and I just don't think he is. He's just not at the level of our older guys. Our older guys are just so battle-tested, and the thing is, too, like our guys in tight games have played really well. Like there have not been games where we totally melt down. I mean, think back to the Texas Tech game.
Yeah.
Daily tight game that we win, and they look incredible. I mean, they had a huge win at Houston, and then they won again this week. So they're really good. And every tight game we played, and even the Auburn game, like we've made plays. Like thinking back to the Auburn game, like we lost the lead and then gained it back with like under 2 minutes. So like we've shown the resiliency to really execute in crunch time, but the last 3 games we've lost by double figures. So like we haven't had the opportunities to be in crunch time because we've been down too much. So I agree. The offense is an issue. The thing is, too, like the silver lining is our offense is so different with Milan just because spacing is so much better. I mean, at times you can have Curtis and Milan in the corners, and those are guys you cannot pull off of Keyshawn and get to the rim. And if they do fall off, that's 2 capable shooters to pass it to. And Taman's been shooting the ball well as of late. Didn't really shoot the ball that well against Lawrence, but then again, he has a broken thumb for crying out loud. So, yeah, I think we're going to be okay. It's frustrating because, I mean, 13 days ago, we're locked in for a 1 seed and we're competing for the Big 12 title. Now we're looking at like a 3 seed and we're definitely not winning the Big 12 title. That being said, with Milan back, we're not the team that's lost these 3 games. So there's going to be some 1 seed that's going to be really pissed off if they see us as the 3,
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because I
agree. Go ahead.
If you watch the teams at the top, Auburn is for sure the best team in the country. Duke is probably second. after that, 2 through 9 are pretty interchangeable, and I would argue at our best we're third. We just haven't been playing our best right now. So I mean, if we get underseeded, one, I think motivationally, TJ is going to use that, and our guys are going to be mad just because they know how good they are. And two, I mean, I just have not seen any teams that really scare me. I mean, Auburn's really good, but I mean, we obviously played with them toe to toe, and we're up 16 at halftime. And I mean, Duke scares me. Duke's really good, and Cooper Flag's legit. So I would prefer not to be in Duke or Auburn's bracket. But so we got some time. I mean, we win these next 4, have Milan back, and I mean, Houston is definitely not invincible. I mean, they lost to Texas Tech without their best player, and then their 2 other post players fouled out for crying out loud at home. So they're definitely not the same team offensively as last year because, I mean, Jamal Shed was incredible. They don't have him this year. And Taman Lipsey's made LJ Cryer look extremely average every single time he's played him, even going back to the Baylor days. So we've got some opportunities.
The team that scares me the most is us.
Yeah,
because I don't know
exactly.
I don't know what version we're going to get. I mean, so we could go out and play Auburn again, and we could play like we have against Kansas at home or something like that, or we could play like we did against Kansas State. I mean, so we're in a lot of control of how this rolls out. I mean, and so I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping this next 4-game stretch is a get right stretch, but we have to, hopefully the kids aren't going into it with that mindset, because then you're not respecting your opponent. I mean, and
right.
TCU's not very good, but they've got a really good coach, and they've got a couple kids that have kind of been up and down this year. This Bunch kid who, went and made 3 threes against 2 games ago, who doesn't hardly ever shoot it. He's a forward, and they've got some athletes. So it sounds a little bit like going into the K-State game. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of these games that, we thought, we could, the K-State game, we thought we were going to brush off the ghost of the Arizona game, and it went the opposite direction. So I don't know. Saturday is, like they always say, the next game in your schedule is the most important one, and Saturday's pretty damn important.
For sure.
And it's 11 o'clock tip too, which is kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why did game day move up the tip? I mean,
I think it probably is just production-wise. They get a full Hilton. It helps as a visual. It's probably good for Iowa State, to be honest, to have a packed Hilton in the background of the game day. I don't really know. But, yeah, I agree. Just got to take it one at a time. I think the difference between TCU and K-State is talented. I mean, they had one of the highest talent acquisitions of any transfer portal team. They just hadn't figured it out. I mean, because they won again against Arizona State as Arizona State. So they're just playing well, and they might make the tournament if they keep winning. So they have Kansas, Arizona the next 2 games. If they win those 2, I mean, they're going to be in the tournament. So, yeah, I agree.
Hurley's in trouble.
Yeah,
there's a lot of rumblings going around on whether Hurley might be on his way out the door.
Yeah, which
I mean, he's not pulling his team off. They want to shake hands. Somebody headbutts somebody. Love starts talking crap to somebody. I mean, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, no, we definitely need to get right and not let the circus of game day distract us at all. I mean, sounds like TJ says it's really going to be up to Milan when he wants to come back almost. I mean, they're not going to pressure him because they said their target was to get him back for Cincinnati. But they said he's practiced today. I mean, and watching him. I was watching him before the Kansas game, and he's slapping 5s to his teammates with that bad hand. So he's not favoring it at all. That hand probably at the end of the day will be in a lot better shape than Taman's thumb, because Taman's thumb hasn't had a chance to heal.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Taman's thumb, I think just from what I know about how bones work, he's playing. It's not going to delay healing. It's if he's playing, it's not at risk of hindering it. It's just being a pain control thing. So honestly, by March, it'll be probably way less painful than it is now. So I don't think he's doing any damage to it. If he were, I think he'd be not playing, or he would have had surgery. So I don't know. Don't know what his injury is, but I think he will only get better too. And it's just a testament to how tough he is. We're very lucky to have him.
Crazy.
But yeah, I agree. Milan was catching the ball with both hands, and I mean, you watch him warm up, and you're like, my God, he's just such a good shooter. It was just, I really wish he could play, but Yeah, you're right. All these games are about us, which is good and bad. 'Cause, I mean, you watch. We were 17-2 at one point. I mean, and you didn't think these games were possible. You would go 1 for 17, 3 for 23. So like now we know that we're capable of that. I'm going to be terrified for March, especially the first weekend, because you lay a stinker against a good old mid-major team, like they can humble you. And so, not that we're playing arrogant. It's just we've shown that we have the ability to not make a basket for hours on end, it seems. So that being
So I got a
said,
question for you.
yeah,
TJ in the first couple of years, every once in a while throws out a 1-3-1 or throws out some kind of zone. I do not remember a possession where we played zone the entire possession yet this year. Do you think that's something he's holding back for the end of the season, the tournament, possibly?
could be.
Or because, geez, you imagine putting Demarion at the top of a 1-3-1 and then Deshaun at the middle of a 1-3-1 and then run Heisey or somebody on the baseline. I mean,
If you had honestly, if you had Demarion at the top, Jefferson in the middle, Curtis and Keyshawn on the wings, and then Heisey running the baseline, that
would be insane. Yeah.
I mean, we had one possession against. We had zoned once against Kansas, and they scored in 5 seconds. So,
well, Kansas was a bad night to do it. I mean, Kansas was feeling it. I mean, and
yeah,
we played a zone the entire possession.
yeah, because I mean they scored in the first 5 seconds, but yeah,
I don't remember.
it was out of a timeout.
Huh.
And then, gosh, thinking back to the start of the first half, I was like, they got the ball. I was like, they're gonna score, and that set they ran was just so good. I'm like, gosh, Bill Self is he's so good at like those situational. Like he can get his guys to just a wide open layup. Still, it's just so impressive.
Yeah, and I was listening to a Kansas podcast on the day before. Is that when it was? It doesn't matter, but and they were just ripping on Bill Self. Talking about how far Bill's got his head shoved up his rear end and all this kind of stuff. I mean, he said, "What are you talking about?" I mean, because they were complaining about why is his name leaving me? The kid that had the dunk.
KJ Adams.
KJ Adams playing way too many minutes, and they said AJ Storr shouldn't play the rest of the season. So I mean, I don't know who these guys were that I was listening to, but I thought they were absolutely insane. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, we need to get it right and figure out and just move on from and kind of put this in the past. Because if we can get Saturday, we win Saturday, possibly get Milan back for the Cincinnati game. Things should be looking up a little bit, and we'll see where things turn out. I mean,
for sure.
Would we feel like it's a failure if we end up a 3 seed at this point?
I mean, the seed doesn't matter. All it matters is making the Final Four, or at least the Elite Eight, to be honest. And I mean, there's very rarely 4 1 seeds in the Final Four, so it probably doesn't matter a ton. It's just I don't want to play Duke or Auburn. The only way to guarantee that is be a 1 seed. So,
and I don't want to play in San Francisco for the Sweet 16.
No,
I mean that's the worst draw that we could have, in my opinion. But it's not. I mean that has to put us in the West, where we could possibly play the first weekend in Milwaukee, but then have to go out west. And the ideal situation is that there is according to the NCAA website, we could play in Milwaukee and then Sweet 16 in Indianapolis, which would be the ideal situation for us.
Right now we're behind Kansas though, and Purdue. So
yeah.
But there's a lot of season left. There's a lot that can still happen. I mean, if we win these 4 in a row and then beat Houston, like we're back on the 1 seed train, So like the thing is, we can't just look ahead. We just got to win the next game each time. And right now we just feel so bad because it's been so long since we've won. It seems.
Yeah. It's amazing how in 10 days things flip. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we went from feeling really good after the Arizona State game, get kicked in the crotch for the Arizona game. But we still felt good about, it was a crazy shot. Love doesn't make that shot 8 times out of 10 if he's in the gym by himself. But then the Kansas State thing is the one that I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we can I hope a week from now, all of that is way in the past. We've hammered TCU, we've hammered Cincinnati, and we're kind of looking to the future. So
yeah. That's why college basketball's fun, though. I mean, the thing is, too, like, Iowa State's such a fan base that, like, the sky is falling, and they're like, this team's done. Like, they're not meant to be tough. Like, I mean, but then you look ahead, and I mean, last year's team was so good, but like there was times where we doubted us because we struggled to score. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're way more talented than last year, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have a better record. But we're also 17-5. Like
Yeah.
10 years ago, 17-5. You're like, what are you talking about? Like that's
Yeah,
impossible.
we're talking about that on the way down there, saying, you remember the years where we're just hoping we'd be 500 in the Big 12
Or
because then
like we're like
to
get
get
to
in the
20
tournament.
wins. Like how many
Yeah,
times do we say we just need 20 wins? Like the thing is, we're 17-2, which is even crazier. But yeah, we'll be okay. Basketball's a long season. I agree with you. Our guys are staying together, which is, I mean, the thing is, if they didn't stay together, this would turn ugly quickly.
yes,
But I don't think TJ has coaches like that, and these guys are old enough, and I mean, they know there's one goal. I mean, make Elite Eight, make a Final Four. These games in February don't matter, and if you do that, so
yeah.
I mean,
We need
UConn had a losing streak.
We need Curtis to get right fast.
Yeah, I think Milan comes back, and Curtis has a little bit more energy, and he just can kind of assume the sixth man of the year role again, and because he's been playing so well and he's making a lot of tough shots, he's tired, so he just needs he needs the pressure taken off him. And right now too, that at times he's our only offensive option. So
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, I watched him when he got subbed out a couple of times Monday, and he didn't look near as tired as what I thought he would. I mean, he was when I was watching him on the bench, and when they'd send him back in, he'd pop right up again and go back in. So he's not near as tired as I thought he was going to be. But hell, he
I mean,
still played. He played 35 minutes again Monday night. I mean, Deshaun played 30. So,
yeah,
but we got 8 minutes out of Chatfield, 15 out of Heisey, and 14 out of Demarion. So we basically played just 7 guys. I mean, because
yeah,
Chatfield didn't play much at all. Chatfield's also the one that needs to kind of reassert himself a little bit more too. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, like we said last time. I mean, this is a tough time of the year for basketball. I mean, it's kind of you're a month out from Christmas break. You still have, we have 8 weeks left till if we get to the Final Four or whatever it is. I mean, Big 12 tournament is 6 weeks out, something like that. I mean, so there's a lot of basketball left.
for sure.
All right. Well, hopefully we got a guest coming on tomorrow. You'll find out when I post it, but somebody that's kind of involved with the whole basketball thing, and hopefully game day will get a good turnout, and we can put Iowa State in a good light again for game day because it really worked well last time. So,
For sure.
all right, go Cyclones.